9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage for the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
War Eagle, everybody. It is a Auburn football win in Game 1 of 2025. Your Auburn Tigers take down the mighty Baylor Bears in Waco, Texas, in Mint-Lang Stadium by the score of 38-24. This is our post-game reaction show. We are going to talk about the score, the stats, and the storylines, your opinions, takeaways, all of that and everything in between, players of the game as well. We got a lot to get into today. It's exciting on a late-night post-game stream. So let's not waste any more time and get into it right now. War Eagle, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about the Auburn experience. The Auburn experience to us is all about a few things: Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though, say it with me. If it's orange and blue, it is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing this evening. Post-game reaction live stream, Auburn versus Baylor. The Tigers are victorious, and we are so excited to have the 2025 season off to such an outstanding start. A little bit of trepidation here and there, some things to discuss, good and bad, but plenty on the good side. And I think there's a lot of crow being eaten this evening in relation to one Jackson Arnold. It's only one game, but I think we need to go ahead and say that outright at the start at this very, very fun reaction show that we've got going tonight. What we'd love for you to do is the same thing we ask you to do every single time you join us on the live stream. If you're watching the replay of this, you can certainly participate in some fashion in this too. Make sure you are, first of all, smashing that like button wherever you're watching. The share button you can do as well. And let us know that you're here. Well, War Eagle, welcome, however you'd like to say it. If we've got any Baylor Bears that want to venture in here, and because I'm sure many of you had it queued up, ready to be here if you won. We would like to hear some of y'all's perspectives on it too. So if there's anybody out there watching from the Baylor perspective, you certainly are welcome to join on the conversation. We will be kind to you in defeat as much as we can tonight. So here's the agenda tonight, and I will stress this as we did with our predictions and preview show. We try to kind of follow a model here. Our model is going to be, we'll talk about the stats first, we'll go through stories, and then amongst all that, we'll take some of your commentary as it feels appropriate throughout all of that, so you can continue to drop it. What I'm going to ask you to do a lot this year, because of things in the past of just learning, if you're going to be in the chat, you've got to provide productive, constructive, relevant, meaningful, and non-spam contributions to the chat. If you cannot do that, basically be an adult, you will not last long here. But with all that being said, I don't think we're going to have too much of a problem with that this evening. We are going to rely a lot on some of your takes tonight and some of your opinions of things that we want to talk about this evening. Let me start the show off, as we should always do, and I tried to commit to you guys last year doing this a little bit more regularly. Let's give a tip of the cap to the Baylor Bears for having a hard-fought game, one that kept it interesting the entire time, frankly, down to the last 2 minutes of the game. A little bit less than that, actually, and one touchdown away from really putting this in a situation where Auburn has to respond, and found itself trying to survive a situation on the road. But Auburn finds a way to win, and wins by 2 touchdowns this evening with, ironically, not ironically, I shouldn't say that, unexpectedly maybe, the Auburn running game taking center stage this evening. That was such a pleasant surprise for me personally, as someone who loves, and I do mean loves, running the football. This was so nice. It was said earlier by, I believe it was Susan, refreshing. I think she was just talking about in general, but I'm going to use her word here and apply that to the running game, refreshing. So really the big takeaways for me, just to kind of start out initial reaction, refreshing in the running game. So pleasantly, you see what I did there? I didn't even intend to do it. The pleasant kick return was just outstanding. There's certainly some things on defense that clearly need to be discussed and cleaned up. But all of that being said, the focus should be really on what positive things that we can take away. I see a lot of you guys talking about this. I do think it's important after wins like this, and we had a really strong opponent. We should be giving credit where credit is due. Trigg tonight for Baylor was pretty much a machine. Let's go really quickly. We're going to spend most of the time this evening on the Auburn stats, but I think it's important to note these things. So he tonight has a total of 99 yards and 1 touchdown. So maybe not, the numbers weren't as much there as we thought they might be, but still he was pretty dominant throughout of that. So outstanding performance by him. He was quite the beast for our defensive backs to have to fend off. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to walk through the stats on the Auburn side of things. I'll try to take some commentary. Y'all keep it going. We'll do our best to get to as many of y'all's comments tonight as we can. We may miss several of those just because I know this is the first one this season, and there's going to be a lot of chatter and a lot of people. A lot of relief, Dad by faith. Winning is everything, and winning fixes everything, doesn't it too, right? A lot of little praises coming in for Arnold, for a lot of different players tonight. How about this? Before we go into stats, I'll start there. I want to know your player of the game. Give me just one name. Don't try to give me an explanation with it. This is when we have these really busy chats. It's going to be hard to do it. Please just give me the one name that is the player of the game for you, whether it's Auburn or Baylor. I mean, obviously it's going to be Auburn if this is an Auburn chat, right? But who is your player of the game this evening? We got a lot of people already coming in here with some responses. We've got a Connor Liu. I know that's what you meant, Brian, but Connor Lee. Jackson Arnold's all the way coming through. Lots of superlatives for him. Another one, he fixed it there with the Connor Liu. Keldrick Falk gets a mention as well. Player of the game. Yes. You're not going to get me, WT. Lots and lots of Arnolds. Pleasant had the play of the game, but yeah, that's why we're doing the player of the game right now. It looks, you see him keep coming in, folks. It's Jackson Arnold, and I think there is no mistaking that whatsoever. It doesn't mean that there weren't outstanding plays and other players this evening, but Jackson Arnold, more than the tip of the cap to you, sir. Absolutely outstanding this evening in terms of that. Let's start right there. Let's analyze the performance of the quarterback. Certainly, you always need to think about things within the quarterback play that are outside of them. That was a little bit oxymoronic, I know. But things that affected them, we can certainly talk about the offensive line. I've seen some commentary about that already. Tonight, on the road, in a tough environment, Jackson Arnold goes for 11 for 17, only 108 yards, 65 completion percentage. He has 118.1 passer rating or quarterback rating, according to the stats thing that we utilize right here. So, when you look at his passing game, that's just his passing numbers. It's not anything to really get super excited about, right? Like it's not like it doesn't pop off the page at you. It just barely gets over 100 yards. If you had probably all asked the majority of Auburn fans, do you expect to see barely 100 yards tonight in passing? We all would have laughed at you. Let's just be honest, right? I think this is an important factor to always point out as well. Taking care of the ball. Certainly, he did have the one fumble, but he was also in the process of trying to make something happen while he was getting hit. So you can understand how that factors in a little bit as well. But his game tonight in terms of the passing game was just fine. Like he got the job done. He didn't need to do too much, maybe a little bit of a rocky start. I think that's all fair to say right here. But where he really takes the cake this evening, he is not the only thing that happened well in the running game, but 16 carries, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, a long run of 27, averaging 8.6 per game. Can I say it again, folks? Shades of Nick Marshall. We posted that a lot on Twitter tonight. Shades of Nick Marshall. I literally was having flashbacks to those moments. I thought for a second Gus Malzahn was back as head coach or offensive coordinator. I thought Nick Marshall was out there. It really just took me back to those days. This is the type of game you sometimes would see from Nick. he would have just barely, 100 yards passing, but outstanding running and got the job done. Excellent. Another great point from Jay here. Also had amazing sliding tonight. I want to point this out as well. I think it was the third quarter. He picked up a first down and then kind of got bumped, moved out to the side, and continued to kind of veer onto trying to get to the sideline. And he saw a linebacker, I think, coming over, getting ready to clean his clock, and just said, "You know what? I got the first down slide." So there was a lot of smart decisions, I thought, on his part around, passing and running tonight. So can we all agree, just an initial reaction, Jackson Arnold gets an A tonight? Is that a fair assessment? I'd be curious to know you guys in the chat. A plus, A minus, B plus. I know there is something to be desired in the passing game a little bit more with all these great receivers, but when that's the storyline coming in, that's all Auburn's going to focus on, maybe that's exactly what the doctor ordered there, right? Absolutely. Let's see if there's anything here. We got Unbeaten Lake. Arnold reminded me of Bo Nix with how he was able to get out of bad situations, and there were some. So maybe let's utilize that. We're going to talk about receiving. We're going to talk about defense. We're going to talk about the other rushers because they deserve recognition too. I've seen a little bit of smattering of commentary about the offensive line performance tonight. I saw a lot of you maybe say that you thought they did well. I thought early on there was a little bit to be desired, but as the game went on, I noticed them a little bit less, and I think that's a good thing, right? You kind of want the offensive line to not be noticed as much because that means that the other people are taking center stage, hopefully with their good play. Jackson Arnold did that. And let's be honest, Jackson Arnold can't do what he does. Neither could Cam Newton or Nick Marshall back in the day without creating the opportunities to do those type of things. Your legs take you a lot. Your athleticism takes you a lot of places, but your offensive lineman has to provide that tonight. A lot of holding was not called, Stan says. I think on both sides that happened. Certainly there was a little bit more called on later in the game on Baylor, but certainly there probably could have been some opportunities tonight to improve in that way. Anything else from you guys on the offensive line? I don't see currently right now. There you go. Robert says, when you have the rush yards we had tonight, the offensive line play is great. So, and Stan says it's impressive as well. I would probably not venture out and say impressive in my initial reaction. Now, I may change my mind looking at these things later, but I think the point that I was making earlier about you notice them less and less, and that is for a good reason, because the job was getting done. That should be happening there. Let's look at receiving tonight, and then we'll look at the rest of the rushers and defense, and then we'll kind of focus in on some of your commentary, some other stories that maybe we haven't talked about this evening. Auburn receiving this evening. Again, Jackson Arnold only throws for 108. Jackson Arnold gets the ball to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different receivers this evening. Your most receptions are Eric Singleton, followed by Horatio Fields and Brandon Frazier with 2. Then you had Malcolm Simmons, Cam Coleman, Preston Howard, and Jeremiah Cobb all getting a reception in this game. A couple things to point out here. Your best receiver receptions-wise is Eric Singleton. Your best yardage-wise was Malcolm Simmons with his 1 catch for 26 yards. Nobody gets a touchdown on average average for the catch, 8.5. Actually, I take that back. When you have a single catch for 20 plus yards, that's Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons. You win in that category as well. So you see all the names tonight, right? You saw Cam Coleman. You saw Malcolm Simmons. You saw Eric Singleton. I know everybody wanted to see Perry. Perry was in there at one point, and he made a mistake and got pulled from the game, at least for a little bit. So we'll maybe see some of him. Horatio Fields getting looked at a lot. A lot of you were surprised by Horatio Fields being in the number 2, or one of the starting slots. You shouldn't have been. This tells you a lot about there's a connection between him and Jackson Arnold. Kind of utilizing the passing game here. Can we all agree it was amazing to see the tight ends utilized? Somebody last night, number 15, that would be Preston Howard, I believe, if I've got my numbers correctly. Let me see if I can confirm. Yes, number 15 is Preston Howard. So let's give some credit where credit is due. Everybody was talking about receivers this offseason. Everybody was talking about, who's going to take over the running back room. What's Jackson Arnold going to do? Is the offensive line going to get it together? Absolutely no one, minus a handful, was asking or talking about the tight ends. And it's fair, right? Because we haven't been utilizing them a whole lot, or at least well outside of Rivaldo Fairweather at times. But both guys, Preston Howard and Brandon Frazier tonight, they get some opportunities to shine. Brandon thankfully didn't have that fumble count against him because he was down, but certainly got to continue to work on securing the ball, even following through when you are getting tackled. What else? Anything else from the passing game? Things that you want to call out? A great connection between Cam Coleman and Jackson Arnold on a deep pass where you just throw it up there and let Cam Coleman go get that. That's a great thing. The only running back that gets a pass in this game is Jeremiah Cobb, and that's not a shock there, really. Looking through here, anything else? Yeah, we're going to get to the other stuff. We're not done yet. I know. Don't jump ahead, everybody. We haven't quite done there. This is from Kenneth. Is this who I think it is? I don't know if this is actually the Kenneth or one of his sons or somebody who knows him. They played to shut down our passing game. Yeah, and it cost them. It cost them mightily tonight. It certainly did. It absolutely did. Running. Let's talk about the running outside of Jackson Arnold. If you missed that, certainly don't think that we missed out on talking about that. We can certainly come back to that. Oh, here's another note for the wide receivers. I think something great to point out. Great blocking by the wide receivers this evening. The rest of your rushing attack, not to be forgotten, certainly. Damari Alston with 16 carries for 84 yards, 1 touchdown, has a long of 11, 5.3 per carry. Jeremiah Cobb has 16 carries, 74 yards on that, 1 touchdown, a long of 9, and 4.6 average per carry. Folks, for those of you that were panicking about the running back room, who was going to take over for Jarquez? Well, first of all, you underestimated Jackson Arnold. Second of all, clearly you see that this is a running back room that is going to utilize people who are talented, whether it is Damari, whereas Jeremiah, it is Damari's role, and he earned it tonight. Can we please put some respect on Damari Alston's name? Please. All of you, I heard a ton of you, not really anybody particularly here tonight, but the fact that people were discounting Damari Alston. It's one game, right? And I should have said that clear at the beginning. We don't need to be overreacting, one good or bad, in these situations. It's one game, but clearly you got a two-headed snake, as Stan said earlier on that. Going back to the offensive line playing David, the O-line won the game for us, give them the game ball. Certainly we always want to give credit where credit is due. And I think, as we said, the game went on and the running game continued to dominate. They became less and less of a focus. Let's see here. That's an interesting one right there. We're just going to move on from that. So that's your rushing attack mainly tonight. Eric Singleton gets in the mix. Obviously, you love to see athletes get the ball in their hand, even if they're being utilized on some of those sweeps. Felt a little bit like Anthony Schwartz at times. A lot of hearkening back to some familiar games and things like that. But there was some good moments tonight. Darrell Robinson gets a carry for 3 yards, so he got in there. So he obviously is healthy enough to get something. So all the players that we were expecting to see mainly tonight, I think, got an opportunity to do something this evening and shine a lot. We actually broke some records today. Well, we'll have to look at some of those. So certainly share some of those rise, and we'll try to talk about a few of those. One of those being the most rushing yards by a quarterback since Nick Marshall in the Tennessee game in 2013, I think is what's up there. What may be one of the ones that you're thinking of. Okay, let's talk about special teams and defense, and then we're going to come back to a lot of those comments and stuff. So we're not done. We haven't even covered all of this stuff. We got a lot to talk about this evening, and we're just now kind of getting through some of the stats. Hudson Cack, as I'm going to call him this evening, punting and always, so I don't have any misspeaks ever again, really bad misspeaks. He has 3 punts tonight, 118. He averages 39.3 with a long of 40, one inside the 20, and technically he should have had one inside the 5 if it wasn't for a penalty. So a solid night from him. Can we please once again give some credit to where it is deserved to Alex McPherson? After everything that he has been through with his health, having such an outstanding start here at Auburn, working so hard to get back and it just not being enough because of just things outside of his control, all the speculation this week about whether or not he was going to be able to go. He tonight is solid, makes all his points after touchdown, PATs, I should just say, make it easier there, Kyle. Makes his field goal. And I like that we set him up in a situation where it was very, very easy for him to, it's a chip shot, right down the middle, pretty well, easy all the way. So outstanding. There's a great thing to point out from Rise is Alex's mom talks about how much he doesn't let anything faze him, and certainly he's had to develop an amount of toughness to go through what he has this week. And I think this made a lot of people happy this evening. And I haven't skipped the defense either, folks. We're getting there. We're just kind of working through the way this stat sheet is listed out here. And folks, I know a lot of you have wanted me to mention it. Can we all just talk about how pleasant it was? Yes, I did the joke, everybody else, to see a kick return for a touchdown, to see a special teams touchdown. Did we get any of those last year? Can anybody remember? I blocked it out of my memory, probably because there wasn't anything. Outstanding. That man was so fast. We have heard the hype all off season about how he was going to be dynamic. He's on the watch list for Specialist of the Year. Well, he is definitely on that watch list and moved up to the top with what we saw tonight. We want to talk about having flashbacks. I had flashbacks to some of that. There was a kick return by Chris Davis in the Tennessee game. There was a lot of that tonight. Auburn versus Tennessee in 2013. A lot of similarities here. The way it was played, the stats line up, the way it was kind of close, pretty close at some points in the game, and Auburn just found a way to put themselves out in front. Yes, there's the joke, pleasant surprise. So many great things from that tonight. So yes, that can I ask yes or no question from the chat? Let's just get a quick poll of the room. Is that the play of the game? Or is it the 4th and 1 Jackson Arnold touchdown? Yes or no? Let's just do a yes or no. Is that the play of the game for you? What do you think? Tyler, I see you. It didn't have to be this way. Rise wants to give it to the 4th and 1. He thinks it's the 4th and 1 situation. So no, we got a no on that situation. I don't know. I think that was the gut punch that had to happen. Susan says yes. We got another no coming in here as well. I don't know, folks. They both were crucial. The kick return from Tyler. I think you're going to find, as we're seeing here in the chat already, a lot of yeses, but there's a variance here of what was the most important play of the game. You could make a really good case for that kick returner, that 4th down play and touchdown by Jackson Arnold. No, it says play of the game. He has swung the momentum late, and certainly he felt like the momentum was swinging in Baylor's favor at that time, and that's what you certainly could point out. But I mean, that's just a dagger to do that. What he did. Davis's was a punt return versus Tennessee in 13. So maybe not the same type of kick return, a punt return versus a kick return, but the same concept, right? Just running it back. So awesome. So you guys can keep sharing your opinions about that, but we wanted to acknowledge that. 98 yards. 98 yards. And finally, folks, have we spent this much time on these stats lately? I mean, not lately because it's our first one of the season, but let's talk about it. The stats of the defense. Just chef's kiss here. Now, listen, I get it. There's a lot to be desired, but just so many like names that I'm so excited to talk about here. Can we all just acknowledge the throws over the middle and underneath the defense? About 10 to 15 yards were killer tonight. That's the first thing that they're going to work on, right? I think we all acknowledge that. that's, if you're Auburn, that's the thing that is glaring. Certainly, it was infuriating. I will give a little bit, Michael, though, of leeway with the last drive there, because you're really trying to keep them in front of you and keep them hopefully eating up some clock. Because if you give up a big play there, then they're right back in a situation where we're going to have, them, one touchdown away. Too many broken coverages and missed tackles. That, to me, that's the biggest thing tonight, WT, is the missed tackles, especially in the secondary. Frankly, the leading tackler tonight could have been a defensive back if there were more wrapped up and completed. Certainly some great plays were made today in locking down a few of their receivers, because there was a lot of them. But that is something that definitely was a little bit left to be desired there. 3rd and long and 4th and long haunted us. Let me scoot over to team stats really quickly. We need to look at team stats too, but I just want to reference this in relation to what we're talking about. Baylor tonight is 5 for 15 on 3rd down, so 1 out of every 3. By the end, it's not that great, but it was good for a while. 3 out of 6 on 4th down. It wasn't 3rd in Auburn tonight; it was 4th in Auburn. But they took a lot of risk too. Took a lot of risk, and it worked out for them. Baylor ran the same 3 plays over and over, and it kills a shallow post in the slot and an outside receiver screen. That outside receiver screen, slow down, Kyle, was tough at the end there, really hard. And I think it's easy to get disappointed on what you perceive here, Hunter, and I think a lot of people see too. I don't say that I didn't feel like that at times too. Lack of adaptation. I think at the end, I give a little bit of leeway to that, but earlier in the game, especially on those 10 to 15 yards over the middle, throwing the ball underneath the defense, it was a lot of batted down passes this evening. So there was great play mixed amongst some of those things tonight. I think we all agree tackling was not good. D-line was good. Certainly we saw some of that tonight. Well, we can break it down a little bit further here. Let's look at the defensive stats again. Your leading tackler tonight, Kieron Crawford. Told y'all that y'all were going to be forgetting about him because Keldrick Falk's on the other side. Kieron Crawford with 7 total tackles tonight, 4 a solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss. His is the first one that sticks out to me. Keldrick Falk is the 3rd leading tackler tonight with 4, but he has 4 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass breakup, and 1 quarterback hurry. So very comparable stat lines there. The second guy, Xavier Atkins, linebacker, 5 total tackles. He also has a quarterback hurry on the day. Here's the rest of your guys in order: Robert Woodyard, Sylvester Smith, Eric Winters, Akevius Walker, Champ Anthony, Kayan Lee, Jarquez Robinson, DeMarcus Reddick, Caleb Harris, Jay Crawford, Jay Hardy, Chris Murray, Elijah Melendez, Amaris Williams. Did anybody get an update on Amaris Williams? And Antoine Fagans. Anquan Fagans. I bet that's who that is. Kinsley Lindor, Faustin. Is that? I was about to say, is that Justin Jones maybe on kickoffs? And then Bobby Jamison Travis. So that's everybody that got a tackle this evening. So we gave the player of the game to an offensive guy, and some recognized a few defensive players. But if you had to give the defensive player of the game, who is it tonight? We talked a little bit about who was the leading tacklers and all that kind of stuff, but who would you say is the defensive player of the game? This is from Hunter. Kieron and Crawford and Amaris Williams really pushed the pocket tonight. Absolute powerhouses. Williams will be special. Do we have an update on his injury? Because he was definitely hurting there at the end. What's going on, Austin? Austin, the co-host for the show. We got a lot to talk about on Sunday, man, especially your time in Waco. Prentice burned us. This is the wide receiver that the announcers really wanted you to know. Alabama had him, and he burned us there too. They couldn't stop eating up that storyline this evening. Jacob says they wanted nothing to do with Falk. Just rolled tumors. They're already starting to come in. There you go. Everybody's celebrating this evening. But anyway, so anybody else want to give a shout out to someone for player of the game on defense? We've got Kieron Crawford. Easy to give it to him with that stat line. I think with that last sack, Keldrick Falk really kind of pushed himself into the conversation as well, but with that many tackles and that in a quarterback hurry, a tackle for loss, a sack, he's got to get some credit there in that conversation too. Xavier Atkins, he has SEC experience, folks. I told you all off season that intrigues me, and now you see why. Kieron Crawford, Xavier Atkins, Keldrick Falk are your top 3 tacklers on the day. We'll see how that holds throughout the rest of the year. If he misspeaks for me this evening, can you tell that I'm tired? All right, a few more stats, and then let's chew up a few more stories here, and we'll kind of go off what you guys have left that you want to talk about and digest a little bit. Team stats this evening. Yes, we got to talk about that. I'm gonna pin that one there, WT. That's a good one. Total yards tonight. Auburn loses in that category by only by a smaller amount than probably it's felt like at times. Total yards is 415 for Auburn, 483 for Baylor. Passing yards, 419 for Baylor, 108 for Auburn. We've talked about that. Rushing yards, it's the complete opposite. 307, 64 for Baylor. Does Baylor know how to run the ball? Like, you would have thought at home, even if that's not their bread and butter, they would have done that a little bit more. I don't know, man. I was shocked with the lack of it. It was shocking to me tonight to see how much we concentrated on the run. I just didn't have that in my bingo card tonight. It was shocking that they did the opposite of that. I really would have had those swapped this evening, but that goes to show you why predictions sometimes don't matter. Penalties tonight, 9 of 83 for Auburn, 83 yards, 6 for 55. So I know there's going to be some Baylor fans that are a little bit sore and say that y'all got the SEC refs and it showed tonight. We had more penalties. We deserved them at times, and sometimes they did not. This was not a great job by the refs this evening. Let's not even mince words. It was absolutely horrendous at times on both sides of the ball, but certainly the home cooking that you could say Auburn supposedly got was not there. They get more penalties tonight. A lot of them warranted, but that is there. What else do we've already talked about third downs and fourth downs. Auburn clears in both of those categories, way more efficient. Total plays, 69 for Auburn, 72 for Baylor. That felt about right. Average yards per play, 6 for Auburn, 6.7 for Baylor. A lot of these stats are close, y'all. They're really, really, really close. Total, we already talked about that one. Anything else that sticks out to me here? Red zone, Auburn is 100% efficient tonight. 3 of 3. Let me say that again. 3 of 3. They've righted old wrongs. 2 fourth down plays don't go Baylor's way, and so they're 3 of 5 in the red zone. Possession, Auburn controlled it with the run game, 33 minutes essentially to 26, almost 27 minutes roughly. Pretty much there. No turnovers tonight. Someone pointed it out earlier. No turnovers by either team. Auburn had 2 opportunities, though. One was overturned, thankfully. Sacks tonight, Auburn gets 4, only 1, and it was in the first. When I feel like maybe I gave some reactions maybe that weren't as warranted, I was really worried when I saw that first sack against Jackson Arnold on the first drive. I was like, here we go again. Here we go. That's the only sack the entire game, on the only tackle for loss the entire game. Outstanding. So I will change my opinion of the offensive line. And I wasn't even that harsh on them tonight. Okay, so we have walked through the offensive, defensive, special teams that we've asked for players of the game. We've taken a little bit of commentary in between that. Certainly, we appreciate you guys letting us walk through some of that. It builds the reaction show up a little bit, and we can dive into those things in a little bit more detail. So thank you for your patience there. Look at all of the great stats that we got to talk about. Auburn, 38. Baylor, 24. We're not done yet. Let's talk about some of the things that you want to discuss, maybe other points that you want to dive into. We'll focus on the chat now a little bit more. But let me use this part of the show to remind you of a few things that we have going on here at E2C Network, some scheduled stuff. Your next available opportunity to hang out with us, the Auburn Experience, our live podcast recording. Austin has a lot to tell us from his experience at Baylor on episode 140. Always scheduled at 9 Eastern time. Every once in a while during football it can get a little dicey. Austin is traveling. Auburn's traveling back too, but Austin's traveling back, so that could get a little bit, we may have to move things depending on how traveling works out for him. But we're going to be talking about a lot, not just football, not just sports, but culture, family stuff, 9 Eastern time on YouTube. As always, we love for you to support us and people that we partner with. We partner with Alumni Hall as an affiliate of theirs. If you go to our links in the description, you can certainly look on there and go through our link and shop with them. If you shop with them and buy something, you support them and you support us at the same time. Alumni Hall, new Auburn gear daily. Check that out. Other things that we've got going on this week, we'll talk a little bit more tomorrow night on those things, but I want to at least give you something to look forward to, and we want to see a bunch of you at Auburn Family Night. All right, let's dive into it a little bit here. We made it all the way through the stats portion of the show, and certainly give me some feedback tonight, guys, on how you like that style. I think that's something that we've done in the past, and I think a lot of you will appreciate it that way. This is from Susan. She says the refs got it right. The missed face mask call, in my opinion. On replay, looked like his hand was on the jersey and not on the face mask, and the helmet was knocked off due to the direct hit and not grabbing it. If I'm remembering that one correctly, I thought they actually got that one. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one. But can we just agree? Calls missed on both sides tonight. I mean, Auburn had there were targetings missed. It was not a stellar night for the refs. Thankfully, they do not affect the outcome of the game in a significant way this evening. Because even if you were going to say that they won Auburn the game, where you're going to have to explain to me how Auburn got more penalties tonight than with an SEC reffing crew. And we just know how SEC reffing crews go. Baylor does not, right? Reddick wanted to take the head back to Auburn as a souvenir. Probably so, Hunter, probably. They did miss the targeting on Arnold. That's certainly one as well that they missed. I said I was going to come back to this. If you've not been here before, WT is bringing up something that has been something we pick on Austin a lot about here. He would go to basketball games and lose games for us, it seems, with his presence. And I think, at least for football, he has shown that that's not been so much the case for him tonight. Lisa War Eagle, thanks for being here. We've been going for a while, but we've got plenty still to talk about this evening, so jump on into the chat here. Sam says, we are number one in the SEC. Kyle, should all the other college football teams just give us the natty? Well, Sam, I would say that you're probably overacting just a little bit. And that is something, in all seriousness, that I want to continue to reiterate, folks. What I don't want you to do this evening, and I would be saying the same thing if it was a loss tonight, do not overinflate the results stats tonight. This is one game, one moment. These are just the beginnings of evaluating every single aspect of this team, and it is a good way to start because this is a difficult game on the road. I'm not saying it'll be the most difficult game that anybody else will play or that will play this year on the road. Those are coming up. But certainly, this is one that was quite the challenge, especially for the defense tonight. And we shouldn't overinflate that and build up narratives that may not necessarily be true throughout the course of the season. Brian says that was that hold call on Perry was not good. Certainly, that was a momentum killer. But even in that moment, I would say, if I'm thinking back to that moment, I think I remember it was questionable at least. And I think, thinking back to last year, I remember Perry having a few struggles with those. So certainly something he needs to continue to work on. But with the passing game not really needing to be a factor as much in this game, you could understand why maybe he even didn't get a few more opportunities to be utilized in the passing game too, because only one person tonight gets 3 catches. Why were the wide receivers almost invisible tonight? Was it because Baylor's defense took them away and we ran it instead? I also think it's as simple as we realized very quickly that we are cooking on run game, and why would you change it up significantly if it's working? I think we could all look at Jackson Arnold to start off that game and saw there were some nerves there. That was honest. He zipped that thing in. I think it was to Cam Coleman or Eric Singleton very quickly, and it was not the best of a pass, but that's to be expected, right? A lot of pressure on that kid. So I don't think it's any more difficult. I think it's just as simple as this. The running game got cooking. Why would you waste that? Just keep rolling with that at that point. College football fans overreacting. Never, right? Says 2 years ago, all the Auburn fans overestimated our team after a blowout over a weak team in game one and suffered the rest of the season. Now, much different stories, right? Decent team, their place, a lot of obstacles for Auburn to overcome, and they take care of business. Frankly, they take care of business in all three facets, with the weakest tonight being the defense. But even then, there's some great plays in there, clear things to point out. Brian, we did talk about Trigg a little bit earlier in the game. He was a problem tonight, but I thought he had a few more yards than he did, but he was just absolutely a beast tonight. Got to give credit where credit is due. Maybe in the next game, we get to see a little bit more Mabson. At home against an opponent that you're supposed to beat, if we get to taking care of business, I think this is a game you're going to have a lot of fun at. It's going to be a night game. You're going to get to see a lot of the younger guys. Everybody thinks about the grass is greener on the other side, that the guy behind the other guy is always the best guy. And it may be, right? But we got to start seeing it. So this is going to be an opportunity coming up for you to see a lot of those players that you've heard a lot about in spring practices. Yes, we talked about that earlier. That kick return by Rayshon, absolutely outstanding. 313, Jackson Arnold will definitely get more confident in the pocket over the next few games. Frankly, I think after that second drive, his confidence was where it needed to be. I just don't think that Hugh and the rest of the offensive staff felt tonight they needed to push it. Why would you? I think it's that simple. I think it's really that simple. Yes, WT, we will always give credit to the punter, but not just to get me to say it. All right, what else? Is there anything that we haven't missed this evening, or that we have missed this evening on our post-game show? We are pushing 12:30 at night Eastern time, getting close to it. Is there a player that deserves a shout-out? Is there a moment that we should talk about? Is there any more comparisons that we need to make? I have personally felt throughout the game, and as we've talked about it together this evening, how reminiscent this game was of Tennessee 2013. I think it was Justin Ferguson on Twitter who pointed out the fact that Jackson Arnold ran the most as a quarterback since 2013, Nick Marshall versus Tennessee. So there's some other similarities I felt there as well too. What else? Anything else that we're missing this evening? I didn't know Ben Tate had any eligibility left. Sorry, that was just Amari. It's a good comparison. Do you see what I was talking about this offseason? I felt like there was going to be a thunder and lightning combo. 84 yards and 74 yards. And don't just put Jeremiah Cobb in a speedback situation. He's not just lightning. He can be thunder as well, too. Champ Anthony. I think Champ got away with a few things this evening, but to see him out there just popping tonight was absolutely outstanding. You would talk about a lot of feel-good moments tonight. Champ Anthony, Alex McPherson, all these naysayers about Jackson Arnold just being trash and all the things, which is just stupid and silly to say those things in the offseason. I'm not saying the kid's going to be a Heisman Trophy winner this year. I'm simply saying what I saw tonight, I will take every day and twice on Sunday. Baylor, man, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate you being brave enough to come in here. Everybody be nice. He says, good game, guys. Can't beat anyone giving out 307 yards rushing. I've seen a lot of people talk about it that way with you. Offer opinions like that on social media. And I think that's very commendable that the fan base just recognizes, look, hey, I mean, what are you going to do if you can't stop the run game? Now, frankly, let's give some credit to your passing game. 419 yards nearly killed us. Y'all need to keep running that play over the middle, throwing the ball underneath the defense as much as you possibly can. It was absolutely tearing us up this evening. Yeah, there was one moment where Xavier Chaplin, I wasn't really happy with him, but once again, just kind of whether it's an individual or talking about the group as a whole, the offensive line moved into the background of everything, right? And wasn't as big of an issue. Do you think that Jackson will keep running this much the rest of the season? I worry about injury. I would not recommend just going into the worry category just immediately. And I know that's what we do as Auburn fans. We're preparing for the worst, right? But to say that I think he's going to not or do this all season, who knows, right? Did y'all think that that was going to happen this night? That he was going to rush for 2 touchdowns and 137 yards? If you did, you're lying. I'm sorry, you are. You might have thought he might run for 60, 70, maybe 80. 137 yards and just having some guts on 4th and 1 to put the game away. Nah, nobody had that tonight. That was being serious. Hunter giving a shout out to KN Lee. Didn't give up too much at all. Didn't he get a really bad penalty called against him too? Yes, he did. KN Lee tonight with 2 tackles. That's the only stats that are registered, but that doesn't mean that that was the only play that he made a significant impact in. Just taking a quick look through some more of the stats now that we've walked through the majority of them so far. Yes, a couple of y'all brought this up. RG3 is the best commentator since Madden himself. I want to acknowledge this evening. We all were very annoyed and frustrated that Fox would pick the alumni Heisman Trophy winner to be on the full broadcast. I will say that I would have been okay if he was on the sideline as a reporter, and I think that probably would have been the best usage of him in that regard, but he's moved up to the level of booth commentator now, so maybe that's a demotion. But I'll give him credit. He was very fair and balanced, and I don't think that they too often went to, let's talk about your things. When the game was in hand or close to being in hand, they did. But I thought it was fine tonight. And he can be quite entertaining, maybe a little bit perplexing at times, but definitely he wasn't as bad as I thought he would be. I'm skipping a little bit ahead in chat here because we don't want to get too far behind. Let's see. This is from Baylor Man. Sawyer is solid. He kept Baylor in it. Certainly, he did a great job tonight. We focused on Auburn commentary and stats this evening, but let's take a little bit of a look again at what he did. He's 27 for 48 tonight. Again, the 419 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 56 completion percentage. His rating is 150.2. So solid game from him. No turnovers. It's hard not to just tip your cap at him, right? Kevlar says Baylor's a good team that will win a lot of games, so beating them was awesome. So once again, I know just from speaking to some Baylor fans that we now have in our family and, have forgone their allegiances that they were raised to be in. I'm looking at you if you're watching. I know that there's been a lot of trepidation between fans and Dave Aranda. I hope that they won't be like sometimes fans are and jump off the bandwagon. Just see what he can put together this year. That was a tough game for both teams, and certainly they both showed some things to be proud of this evening. What else here? Anything else? Did Sam actually call the Jackson Arnold? There we go. He's claiming it. We'll give him credit where credit is due. And remember this, folks. So this is one of those things on the preview and prediction shows on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Join us if you can on YouTube. We ask for these questions, even if sometimes they feel very obvious. We all predicted Damari. Some people predicted Cobb. Very few predicted Jackson Arnold this evening. All right, everybody. It looks like it's probably time to wind down here. I will take any last-minute questions and commentary. A few of you are already hitting the hay. We have had a great crowd this evening, though. We appreciate you guys being here so much. It has been awesome talking to you about this game, and we're going to be doing this all season long. Keep in mind, post-game shows when I'm on the road at Auburn are a little bit different in terms of timeline, in terms of focus and style. We will try to focus a little bit always to start off the show on just going through the stats and talking about the stories amongst those, and then move into focusing solely on your chat on the back end. The timelines will be this. After an Auburn win, it will be very late after that. So next week is going to be a very late one. If we win, which we should, we're going to be going to Toomer's Corner, covering all that, and then having to get back and cover that. We're going to be, if it's a loss, it still will be a little bit after that, but not as long of a wait. So if you can stay up with us, please do make sure you come back and watch the replay if you can. We really appreciate that you guys being here with us this evening. All right, folks, good one. Auburn wins 38-24. The Tigers roar. The Bears did not sick them, but it was a great game, and we're looking forward to the return trip. I very much am, with them coming to Auburn next year to show them why we love Auburn so much and hopefully show them why the Auburn Tigers are the best Tigers in the land once again. They're victorious this year, and here's the biggest thing we haven't even talked about. The record, Auburn and Baylor, is now even in win and losses, 2-2-1. We got a shot to take the lead next year, and that's all we could ask for. Thank you so much for joining us, being here, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.